Why do people lose interest the moment you give them your full attention? Why do they chase you only after you pull away? In this lesson, we reveal a timeless power play, the art of scarcity, and how, by becoming less available, you can make others obsess over you, just as Machiavelli would have commanded. In the game of power, the human mind operates on a simple, brutal law: what is rare is valued, and what is common is forgotten. It has been this way since the first kings ruled their lands, and it will remain this way until the last empire falls. When something or someone becomes difficult to obtain, its value rises in the eyes of those who desire it. This is not sentiment. It is mathematics of the mind. Scarcity is the silent crown you can wear without a kingdom, a throne, or even a title. Look closely at human behavior, and you will see it everywhere. A gemstone lying in the street is worthless because its abundance strips it of mystery. But lock that same stone in a velvet box, guarded, spoken of only in whispers, and suddenly it becomes an object of obsession. People will fight wars over it, cross oceans for it, and risk their lives to possess it. The stone has not changed, its rarity has, and so it is with you. When you are always present, always available, your value erodes in the eyes of others. Familiarity breeds not comfort, but contempt. They begin to assume they can have you whenever they wish, and so they stop reaching for you. They stop working for your attention. The human heart is lazy. It will not chase what it already holds in its hand. But when you pull away, when you remove yourself from their constant reach, something changes. Your absence creates space, and space creates imagination. People begin to wonder where you are, what you are doing, who you are with. Their minds start to fill in the empty canvas you have left behind. And in this imagined picture, you are always painted in brighter colors, standing taller, glowing in a light they had failed to see when you were right in front of them. This is the paradox of desire. It thrives on distance. Lovers feel it when a partner goes silent for a time. Friends feel it when the one they took for granted suddenly vanishes from the gatherings. Rivals feel it when an adversary no longer engages. In each case, your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. Machiavelli understood this well. In the courts of Italy, a prince who was always at the banquet, laughing at every jest, became no more remarkable than the wine served in endless supply. But a prince who attended only rarely, who spoke only when the room had grown still, whose presence felt like an event, that prince's influence spread further than any decree he could sign. His scarcity made his every word carry the weight of prophecy. You must see yourself as a precious resource. Not everyone should have access to you. Not every call should be answered. Not every message should be replied to immediately. This is not arrogance. It is strategy. If gold flooded the streets, no one would bend down to pick it up. By limiting access, you control demand. By controlling demand, you control attention. The mistake most people make is thinking that giving more of themselves will increase their importance. They give more time, more presence, more attention, hoping to be valued. But in doing so, they dilute their own worth. They turn themselves into water, and water, no matter how vital, is taken for granted because it is everywhere. You must be wine, rare, savored, and poured only when it matters. Consider the world of politics. A leader who speaks on every issue, who comments on every event, becomes predictable noise. But a leader who speaks rarely and only at decisive moments will have the ear of the people even before opening their mouth. The scarcity of their voice sharpens its impact. In business, the same law holds true. A product that is always on sale loses allure. But a limited edition release, people will line up overnight, desperate to get their hands on it before it disappears. Scarcity works not because humans are noble seekers of quality, but because we are creatures terrified of losing what we cannot easily replace. The mind tells itself, if it is rare, It must be valuable. If it is valuable, I must have it. And once that thought takes root, it is no longer you who chase others. It is they who will chase you. Your task, then, is to create this scarcity intentionally. You must resist the urge to be constantly seen, constantly heard, constantly explaining yourself. Instead, learn to let silence speak for you. Let absence raise the questions you want in their minds. They will seek you not out of politeness, but out of hunger. And in their hunger, they will see you not as you are, but as you want to be seen. Power is not only built by what you give, it is preserved, sharpened, and intensified by what you withhold. This is a truth few are willing to accept, because withholding feels unnatural to those who crave approval. Yet, in the eyes of the strategist, giving too freely is the first step toward becoming invisible. The rarest treasures are not precious because they give themselves to everyone. They are precious because they do not. Imagine a ruler who hands out gold to every citizen without restraint. For a brief moment, they are celebrated, but soon the gold feels ordinary. It becomes expected. And the moment it becomes expected, its power vanishes. The same law governs human relationships. Give someone constant access to your time, your thoughts, your presence, and they will stop seeing it as a privilege. They will see it as their right. And once something becomes a right, it no longer carries the weight of gratitude. It becomes routine, and routine is the death of desire. Machiavelli understood that a wise prince never offers all his cards at once. He gives enough to keep the loyalty of his allies, enough to keep the curiosity of the court alive, but never so much that anyone feels they truly know him. Mystery is the invisible god at the gates of influence. It forces others to lean forward, to seek more, to stay engaged. Without it, you become predictable, and predictability is the enemy of power. Withholding is not the same as neglect. Neglect is absence without intention. Withholding, on the other hand, is deliberate. It is a controlled scarcity, a calculated pause that invites the other person to step toward you rather than you always stepping toward them. It forces them to earn your time and attention, rather than assuming it will always be there. Think of the merchant who releases his finest goods only on certain days, creating a quiet frenzy among buyers. They wait for those days. They prepare for them. They speak about them in advance. His product becomes legendary not because it is better than others, but because it is not always within reach. This is the same art you must practice with yourself. Your ideas, your presence, your skills. Reveal them selectively at moments when they will have the greatest impact. In the personal sphere, this might mean resisting the urge to respond instantly to every message. It might mean keeping certain aspects of your life private, revealing them only when it serves your position. In negotiation, it could mean holding back your most valuable offer until the other side has shown their full hand. In leadership, it might be the ability to remain silent in meetings, letting others speak themselves into weakness before you deliver your concise, decisive input. The common man fears withholding because he confuses it with rejection. He worries that if he does not give everything now, the other person will lose interest. But this is a failure to understand human psychology. When something is partially withheld, the human mind fills in the blanks. It imagines the withheld portion as even greater than it may actually be. A woman who speaks of her travels but leaves out the most dangerous story will find people begging her to tell it. A leader who hints at a coming announcement will keep the entire court buzzing with anticipation. This is the same reason great military commanders never reveal their full strength at once. They allow the enemy to see a fraction of their force, leaving them uncertain, guessing, overestimating. The unknown is often more intimidating than the known. And in the realm of influence, the unknown is often more desirable than the fully explained. The art of withholding also serves another purpose. it protects you from being overused. When you give freely and constantly, you train others to treat your attention as a resource without limits. Soon, you will find yourself drained, and worse, unappreciated. But when you ration your presence, when you make others wait, they approach you with more respect. They value the time you give them because they know it is not guaranteed. Machiavelli would say that a ruler's power comes not only from the resources he controls, but from the resources he refuses to give away without purpose. The same is true for you. Your time, your energy, your knowledge, these are currencies. If you spend them recklessly, they will be taken for granted. If you spend them strategically, they will be sought after like treasure. Even in love, withholding has its place. Too much constant affection can dull its effect. But the lover who disappears for a time, who leaves a gap for longing to grow, will often return to find the affection doubled. The absence creates hunger, the return satisfies it. And in that cycle lies enduring desire. By mastering the art of withholding, you teach others to approach you on your terms. You stop being the one who chases and start being the one who is chased. You move from the position of servant to the position of prize. You are no longer the resource. You are the gatekeeper of the resource, deciding who may pass and when. Desire is not born from possession. It is born from the mind's torment over what it cannot have. The more a thing is withheld, the more the imagination inflates its worth. When something is within reach at all times, it fades into the background like the furniture in your own home. Familiar, unnoticed, and taken for granted. But remove it, and suddenly the absence screams. It forces the mind to confront the void, and in that void, desire grows like wildfire. Machiavelli understood that absence is not a weakness, it is a weapon. In the courts of power, those who made themselves constantly available were forgotten as quickly as they appeared. But those who disappeared without explanation, who allowed whispers and rumors to replace their presence, became figures of fascination. People do not chase what they can touch at will. They chase what slips through their fingers. When you step back, when you make yourself less accessible, you plant seeds in the minds of others. Those seeds are questions. Where did they go? What are they doing? Who are they with? And these questions do not stay idle. The human mind is addicted to closure, to knowing, to resolving uncertainty. But if you refuse to give them answers, they will fill in the blanks themselves. And in doing so, they will often imagine you to be more powerful, more mysterious, more valuable than you truly are. Absence manipulates desire because it forces focus. Think of a bright star in the night sky. Its beauty is undeniable, but the sky is filled with many stars. Now imagine that star suddenly disappears. Night after night, the sky feels emptier. The star was just one of many, but its absence makes all the others seem dimmer. When you remove yourself from someone's daily experience, you become that missing star, and they will search the horizon for you. In relationships, this law is ruthless. At first, constant presence feels comforting. But soon, the mind adjusts, and comfort turns to monotony. The thrill of the chase is gone, but remove yourself, physically, emotionally, or socially, and the energy shifts. Suddenly, the very people who had grown indifferent are now restless, looking for signs of your return. They remember moments they had forgotten. They replay old conversations, searching for meaning. In absence, your value increases without you having to lift a finger. This is why the most skilled manipulators of desire know the rhythm of appearing and vanishing. They do not vanish for so long that they are forgotten, but long enough for their absence to be felt. Then, when they return, the hunger they have created ensures they are received with more warmth, more interest, and more reverence than before. History gives us endless examples. Political leaders have staged intentional retreats from public life, only to return at critical moments to overwhelming support. Artists have disappeared after great success, leaving audiences desperate for their next work. Even military generals have used absence as a tactic, disappearing from the battlefield just long enough to lure the enemy into a false sense of control, only to return with devastating force. You must understand that absence is not passive. It is not simply doing nothing. It is a carefully measured silence. It is a deliberate creation of space that forces others to reach for you. If you disappear without intention, you risk being replaced. But if you disappear with purpose, you create a vacuum that others will try to fill. And in their attempts, they will often betray their need for you. The mind exaggerates what it cannot have. That is why forbidden fruit is sweeter. Why closed doors are more intriguing than open ones. Why secret societies have more allure than public gatherings. When you make yourself less available, you create your own exclusivity. People begin to believe there must be something exceptional about you, something worth guarding, something they must work to obtain. In personal ambition, this principle can be just as lethal. A competitor who suddenly stops showing their hand forces the others to second-guess every move. An employee who becomes scarce in social chatter but delivers exceptional results when present becomes a figure of intrigue in the workplace. Even in friendships, the person who steps back from constant availability often becomes the one everyone suddenly wants to include. The key is to let absence work for you while keeping the right balance. Too much absence without prior value will simply erase you from memory, but absence after establishing your worth will amplify it. When you are gone, they will remember you differently than when you were present. They will remember the highlights, the best moments, the strengths. The flaws, the irritations, the small mistakes, those will fade. Absence edits your image in their mind, polishing it until you seem almost perfect. This is the secret Machiavelli would whisper into your ear. Never let them consume you entirely. Give them a taste, then take the plate away. The hunger that follows will be stronger than any satisfaction you could have given by staying. Scarcity alone is not enough. If you vanish without sense for timing, you risk fading from memory entirely. If you linger in absence too long, others will adjust to life without you. But if you return too quickly, the spell of scarcity breaks before it has taken root. The art lies in precision, in knowing the exact moment when your reappearance will strike the deepest chord. Machiavelli would tell you that absence is only half of the weapon. The return is the strike. Imagine a general who withdraws his troops, leaving the enemy in uneasy quiet. The opponent begins to relax, to believe the danger has passed. Then, just when their guard is lowest, the general returns with full force, crushing their unprepared defenses. The timing was not random. It was calculated. In the same way, your reappearance must arrive when desire has reached its peak, but before it has cooled into acceptance of your absence. The rhythm is much like the turning of the seasons. A winter that lasts forever is not winter. It is death. But a winter that gives way to spring at just the right moment creates a rush of relief, energy, and renewal. Your absence should feel like winter, and your return like the first warm day. If you appear at that moment, you will not simply be welcomed back. You will be celebrated. When you disappear from someone's life or from the public eye, they go through stages. First comes confusion. They wonder why you are gone. Then comes longing. They recall moments they once overlooked. Finally comes adaptation. They start to live without you. If you return in that third stage, you are too late. The seat you once held will be filled. But if you return in the longing stage, you catch them while their mind is still replaying your value, still craving your presence. In politics, leaders who understand this will step away after a period of influence, allowing the people to feel the gap in their leadership. They wait until discontent with the current state grows, and then they re-enter, appearing as the answer to the public's silent wish. In business, a brand may halt a popular product, letting demand build to fever pitch before releasing it to overwhelming sales. In relationships, the timing of a message, a meeting, or an appearance can reignite attraction more than any words could. Returning too early is the mistake of the impatient. They fear being forgotten, so they rush back before the absence has had its full effect. But the impatient prince does not inspire longing. He merely confirms that he was never truly scarce at all. On the other hand, those who overstay in absence fall into the trap of irrelevance. Time erodes memory, and once the emotional link has faded, the return feels like an intrusion, not a homecoming. This is why timing is not guesswork. It is observation. You must watch for the signs that desire has reached its height. Perhaps you notice people speaking your name more often, even in your absence. Perhaps you see your influence echoed in the actions of others. Perhaps you feel the subtle pull, the invitations, the indirect inquiries, the curiosity building like pressure in the air before a storm. That is the moment you move. That is when the return will have the most impact. The return must also be deliberate in its manner. You cannot slip back unnoticed. The very point of your absence was to create a moment that makes people lean forward when you reappear. A prince does not quietly enter the banquet. He arrives so that all notice. A strategist does not resume speaking in a meeting without purpose. He speaks in a way that makes the pause before his words feel heavy with expectation. Think of your return as the second act of a performance. The first act, your absence, set the tone and built anticipation. The second act delivers the reveal, and the reveal must exceed the memory they have been holding on to. If you return diminished, tired, or unprepared, you undo the work your absence created. But if you return sharper, stronger, with more to offer than before, you transform their longing into renewed loyalty. Machiavelli would caution you that the return is not about satisfying them fully. It is about establishing your position and then, perhaps, preparing for the next cycle of absence. Desire is not sustained by one appearance. It is kept alive by the repeated rise and fall of availability. The right timing makes each return a crescendo, each absence a deliberate silence before the music swells again. Those who master timing can hold the attention of others for years, even decades, without exhausting themselves through constant presence. They become not a background noise, but a recurring event, something people look forward to, speak about, and never truly grow used to. And when you are an event, not an object, you can dictate the terms of every interaction, because the world will adjust its pace to yours. In the theater of power, your greatest asset is not always what you say, what you give, or even what you do. It is how you manage your presence. We began with the truth that scarcity creates power, that the human mind places its highest value on what it cannot easily have. We learned that giving too freely erodes your worth, while withholding with intention sharpens your influence like a blade kept hidden until the moment of need. We explored how absence manipulates desire, how stepping away from constant availability allows the imagination of others to work in your favor, painting you as greater, brighter, and more necessary than when you stood before them. And we saw that scarcity alone is not enough, that the timing of your return is the strike that makes the weapon complete. Too soon, and you are ordinary; too late, and you are forgotten. But at the right moment, you do not simply return. You arrive as the answer to the longing you created. Machiavelli understood that this cycle, presence, absence, return, is not mere social play. It is the foundation of lasting influence. The common man tries to maintain value by being constantly seen, constantly heard, constantly available. The strategist, the ruler, the one who understands human nature, knows that it is the space between appearances that makes those appearances unforgettable. To become scarce is to step away from the noise. To withhold is to force others to lean toward you. To disappear is to make them remember. And to return at the perfect moment is to remind them why they chased you in the first place. This is the quiet crown of the powerful, the art of being missed before you are seen again.